We're back on Skywatchers Radio after a couple minutes of technical difficulties. We made it back on the air. I'm telling you, when you're going to deal with paranormal stuff, you better expect some paranormal activities to happen. And I think that's what's going on with Skype tonight. It's just having all kind of paranormal, things happening to it, and it's bizarre, it's weird, it's right up there with the stuff we like to cover, right? The bizarre and the weird. And you know who else is into the bizarre and the weird? Our guest tonight, Dino Ewelt, who is the host of Paranormal Into the Night Radio, and he's a hell of a nice guy too. He's a founder of P.I.T.N Network, and I was on his show not long ago. He has a fabulous show, and hopefully one day he'll be off of Spreaker and on PSN Radio. You never know. Dino, welcome to Skywatchers Radio, my friend. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
Thank you, Angel. And Crystal, how are you doing?
I'm good. Nice talking to you.
Yeah, we almost did not think it was going to happen.
Yeah, that close. But we got it going, so it's all good.
That's right. Goodness. That's how we roll. We make it miracles.
Yeah. There you go. Cool.
Now, I first became aware of you, Dino, when you reached out to me a while back, and you're like, "Hey, dude, can you be on my show?" And I was like, "What? Do you do a lobotomy? What's wrong with you, kid? You want me on your show? What's wrong with you, son?" But then you had me on, and it was awesome. You were great.
Well, thank you. Yeah. I think I got a different kind of style, I guess. I mean, we're all different, but I asked the questions, and you were a great guest, man. That was actually a really, really good show. And I was thinking maybe you were going to pull an Art Bell there and say, hey, I'm a better interviewee than an interviewer, whatever. Yeah, so we won't get into that, but
it's funny because I brought that up earlier on at the beginning. I don't know if you heard the beginning of the show, but I kind of
I was listening. Yeah,
and I know you had a similar experience with Mr. Bell.
Yes, I did.
And you actually you inspired him in a way to open up a line for stuff on his show early on when he came back to Dark Matter, which I want you to tell the audience about because I thought it was really cool. Tell the audience, go for it.
Oh God, when Art Bell first came on, I mean, we did talk back and forth a little bit through messaging on Facebook and all that, and of course very aware of Paranormal Into the Night Facebook group, and I wanted him to go. I mean, I think you guys know when he came back, the show wasn't the same. It was a little different. I really still wanted that spookiness, that little dark, thing that he had to his show. And, he kept his open lines or special lines that he would do on, I think, the Friday nights or whatever, were not the best. I mean, one night he was asking me about names for the open lines, and I gave him stuff like, Vampire Hotline, stuff like that, and he came back and just really did not listen to anything I had to offer, and he opened up Losing My Mind line, okay? First of all, I think we're all losing our mind a little bit, but anyway.
Just a little bit, yeah, just a little bit. Especially with this election going on right now. Oh, my God.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah, I don't...
Jesus, Ellery. Jesus. Anyway.
Mr.
Losing
Trump.
your mind line.
But he went with that, and I'm like going, oh, you gotta be kidding me. And everybody started coming on talking about, I'm losing my mind because my girlfriend's doing this to me, or this... I'm like going, what does this have to do with the paranormal? And so I said, you know what? I'm going to call. And this was when I first started my Paranormal Into the Night Facebook group. It was technically Art Bell live chat because it was all about Art Bell's show. And that's how all of this started. And we were chatting back and forth. And I swear to God, we'd have 1,000 posts every night for our show, for Art Bell's show, just going back and forth. It was unbelievable. That was one of the greatest things that when it first started rolling. But they're like, go ahead, call in. So I did, and they never knew about it, because they really didn't think it was me. But I called in as a vampire, okay, and I told Art I was losing my mind, and I'm not patting myself on the back or nothing, but I did a hell of a job. Anybody can go look it up on YouTube under, I think, Midnight in the Desert YouTube channel, and just put in Vampire Midnight in the Desert, Art Bell, whatever. It'll pop up, or I could put the link somewhere. But I did an awesome job. I was losing my mind because something attacked me in the night, in the woods, and I was losing my mind because of the thirst I needed, the blood. And I was turning as I was talking to Art. And he was just like going with it for a good 10, 15 minutes. And then he finally had enough and he said, that's really, and just hung up, after, a certain amount of time. But it was actually, everybody said, that's probably the best thing I've heard since the frantic Area 51 caller. And, I have to agree. I'm one of the biggest Art Bell fans there is out there from the very beginning. And I had to put something into the show to make it exciting and make it what it used to be. And that's probably the highlight of me and Art's relationship, over the years. So yeah, I did do that, and it was very, very interesting and very cool. So yeah.
Now, it's funny because I think we've all been kind of influenced by Art. The reason I got into radio to begin with was because of Art Bell. We talked about that on your show. Mm-hmm. The host that influenced me was, Art Bell was one of the main ones. Phil Hendry, George Rodriguez, Neil Rogers are the guys who really influenced me to get into doing this stuff. But there was nothing bigger than Art Bell, really. Art Bell, for this genre is the biggest thing ever. Yeah. And it's funny that, my interaction is a lot less or cooler than yours. My interaction with him is like, yeah, I'm not a good radio interviewee. I'm just a good radio interviewer.
Well, I'll tell you, that's exactly what happened to me. I mean, because I did, and I'm not making it out more than it was. It was just Facebook, a message back and forth, that kind of thing. I think at the time he was reaching out to as many groups as he can because the live chats popped up in tons of groups. I think you probably know that. I mean, there was, there's still Heather Wade, groups and stuff for people to chat, although 5 people chat a night. But, not putting her down or nothing. I'm just, it's a whole different ball game now in the, in that whole, program and stuff. But, I said, did the same thing. I said, hey, Art, why don't you come on here and, let me interview you. I won't talk about any of the controversy, any of this. I just want to talk paranormal with you. And he said the same thing. He said, I'm, not very good at doing interviews. I am much better at giving interviews. So, same exact thing. So, and
it's like more stupid because he's been on like Bill Gab, the radio show.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You must have asked right around the same time I did because I swear it was a couple days later or so. He was on Bill Gab and he put it all out there. He did a great interview. He even told what was his name on Bill Gab? I forget his name, but he said this.
Mike?
No, he was the guy. I think he's from another country, Australia or. Jazz Munda.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay. And he told him, he said, maybe it was his co-host or whatever, but nevertheless, he said, this is going to be one of those shows that'll go on forever, right? Like he's a biography or something like that. And I'm like going, why couldn't you just come on and talk to me? It would have been one of my bucket list things. And yeah, I mean, I understand if he just does not want to do that kind of thing, but just like everybody, he picks, not everybody, but certain people pick and choose
right
who they want to deal with, who's going to give them the most. Although I don't know how much Bell Gab really, put that thing out there. Art could have done any show and it would have got spread around. So I don't know. Yeah. But I get you, man.
But here's the thing. Your show is a good show. I think we do a good show here. We all love Art Bell. That's the best thing. The most. We all love Art Bell. We're going to give him every opportunity to say what he wants to say. We weren't going to especially on this show, we weren't going to be controversial with him or talk about something he didn't want to get to. So it's going to be a very honest and loving episode dealing with art and his history and stuff. And And, for him to close those channels and say, nah, I don't want to do the show because I'm not going to get an interview or whatever the excuse is, to me, it's kind of cheap on his part. Because, like I told you when you invited me on your show, there's no way I'll say no to somebody who's asking me to be on their show. Because to me, that's a hell of an honor to be asked to be on somebody's show, because that means that they want to hear from me. They care enough to ask me to be on their show. You have to stay humble also when you do this kind of stuff. And I'm a humble person. If anybody asks me, hey, can you be on my show? I'm going to do it because, it's somebody asking, putting themselves out there and asking. Why would I want to break that person's heart and, just go against what they're asking for? That, to me, is ridiculous. Especially, I'm nobody special. And at the end of the day, Art Bell, he's a great personality. We love his radio show. But he's just another guy.
Oh,
he's
right.
Just a dude. He's just an old man living in Nevada or somewhere. Let's be real on what it is. At the end of the day, that's who Art Bell is. And he should be a little bit more humble than that. That's my take on the whole thing. I still love you, Art. I still, I wish you were on the air. I wish, you hadn't retired for good for the 18th time.
Yep,
but, it is what it is. It is what it is, man. Now, getting on to your show, let's talk a little bit about your show, because you deal with, by the way, you're making a whole lot of noise. Are you rattling around there, or are you wrestling with alligators? What's going on over there?
Yeah, there's some spirits around me right now flying around, so, this first time this ever happened. But, yeah, sorry. Well, I was having issues
that's so serious too. I was like,
I know,
really?
I believed him.
I had to pause for a second. I'm like, for real?
Well, this is the Paranormal Into the Night guy, so I believe it.
It's rats. I've got rats all around me. No. Well, we were having issues with the microphone, and you could probably hear everything I'm doing now because I'm using a different mic, so that's probably why. As long as you can hear me.
Yeah, no, we can hear you. It's weird. It's like
I won't move.
Scratchy.
It is scratchy. It's a little scratchy. No, it's fine.
But it sounds better than the stuff you had before. Before it sounded like he was in the bathroom doing something else. I'm saying what?
Nice. Okay.
There's numbers involved. That's all I'm saying. But getting back into your show, let's talk about your show a little bit, because it is a cool show. But you deal with mostly paranormal stuff. Not so much UFO-centric, but you are a believer in ufology. We talked about that a little bit. What kind of got you, besides Art Bell, what got you, into the genre itself?
Pretty much from a very young age. I mean, I was exposed to horror, and I mean, believe it or not, I think horror and paranormal kind of go together in a strange way, at least to me, because I had grandparents who, everywhere they moved, any house they lived, there was activity going on. And that's pretty much where I guess it instills it in your head. And as you grow up, it sticks with you. And then I hit a point when I got older, where, like everybody, I think you just start asking questions, and I want to know if there's more to life than this. Do we move on? Where did everything come from? Are there aliens? If there are, can they please come get me and take me away?
You and me both, bruh. You and me both.
If there was a bus stop, I'd be the first one there. I mean,
you'd have to fight for a spot with Angel. We'd all be sitting there. I think that would be it.
You, me, Chris will be fighting it out right here. The three of us.
Yeah. Oh my God, we'd rumble at the bus stop. But yeah,
and somewhere the other guy will be taking bets on who wins, so he can make some money off of it. Because
it's true. He'd be selling it. He'd be trying to sell it. It's true.
The bookmakers, they do it all. But anyways,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Continue your thought.
No, yeah, I mean, it's just about looking for answers. I'll lay it out there. I'm a little bit scared of dying, and everything ending. So there you go. I mean, I want
actually
some.
That leads me to a granular question. That comment you just made, that you're scared of dying, and everything ending. Are you a religious person? Do you believe in heaven, hell, the afterlife, God, the whole shebang?
Oh, Angel, man, we could talk for hours and hours about this subject, but am I religious? I'm not an atheist. I do believe there's a higher power, a higher being or energy or something. I know something created all of this, because it didn't all come from nothing. It's impossible, But then that just leads you to more questions. I mean, I don't believe there's a guy that, you know, made the earth
sit in the clouds with a beard and judge
I mean, you know, and a lot of people will hate hearing that though. But you know, I mean, there's not one little iota of proof that I know. There's books and stories and stuff like that tells you, you know, God created Adam and Eve and this and that. And I'm not a creationist. I'm not I'm not very religious. So the bottom line, and I don't know. People who do know, I think, are going on faith. Right. If they say otherwise, it's it's a story. I mean, people have passed on, or not passed on, but you know, near-death experiences and stuff like that can kind of get you to say, wow, you know, okay, maybe there's something. But it always involves angels, or I saw God, and you don't know if they took it in a different way. You know, I mean, what did they see? It's a light. Is that light God? I mean, what are you seeing? So there's just so many questions to all of that, and I don't even know where to begin to, you know, answer.
I have
that,
a theory.
You know?
I have a theory on the light that people see, because if people say, "Oh, I see a tunnel and a light," right?
Mm-hmm.
That's usually what people describe.
Right.
And follow along here. What I think people are witnessing is their very first memory. The tunnel and the light, vagina, and the light when it opens.
Oh, at the gynecologist, whatever, the gynecology.
Well, that's a tough one for me too, I feel you. But no, yeah, with that moment of birth, right? I think that's the very first memory we have instilled in our mind. We don't remember it because it gets washed over with so many other memories that we record. But I think once you're dying, maybe you kind of revert back to the very first instance of your memories, and you relive that memory of being reborn, and you're seeing that light, which is not leading you to the afterlife. It's just, you know, it's your memory saying, this is a vagina canal, and you're about to be exited of the vagina. That's
oh boy.
That's
hey, that's one take on it.
That's an interesting. I think what you see has a really severe bearing on what you believe. I really do. I really do. When you're locked into those experiences, I think, Jackal, that if you were being, you know, what you believe, I think you would see something very different than what I would see. And I based that on very loosely, and I'm going to botch this because it was so long ago since I read about it, but someone did an experiment where they were messing with people, and they were kind of feeding them they were messing with electromagnetic pulses in the brain, and they wanted to see what they could, you know, what people would see when they were in this certain state. And what people saw had a real big bearing on kind of where they were personally. Because some people were like, "Oh my God, I saw angels," and other people were like, "No, it was a demon." And you know, other people still were like, "I just saw this really loving being." And they all, I mean, they weren't exposed to a different stimuli. It was the same stimuli, but they all saw something different. You know, right. so that I guess that really compounds the question about what's out there.
Well, not only that, not to cut you off, but they've also done experiments like that where they've been able to simulate the abduction phenomenon, the alien abduction phenomenon, to a T in a laboratory where, you know, there was no abduction. They were just under, they were in deep sleep, or they were messing with their brain, and they literally thought they were being abducted by aliens. And it was... this has been done. You can Google this. It's research that actually took place. So that also leads to other questions. Are we hallucinating abductions for the most part? Is that part of a hallucination that people have when they wake up and they can't move? Because, you know, people do have that, I forget what it's called now.
Sleep paralysis.
What's the name? Sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
People have sleep paralysis, and I suffer from sleep paralysis, by the way. I've had it many, many times in my life. Where you wake up and you can't move, and you're like, oh, damn, move the finger. Move a finger, come on. Finger, please move, proof that I'm alive. And then nothing happens. Then you're like, all right, screw this, I'm going back to sleep. Maybe I'll wake up later. Then you wake up an hour later and you're like in drenched sweat, or maybe that's just me, maybe. But you know, you wake up and you're like, oh yeah, I can move all my faculties. They're all in order. Everything's good. Now, that doesn't mean that I was abducted by aliens, but some people do think the sleep paralysis is, an abduction phenomenon that's about to happen, and then you get abducted and then you're dropped back. It could be. You never know. Maybe I've been abducted 20,000 times in my life. I don't know. But the point is that this kind of test has been done in laboratories, and they have gotten the same results where people actually go through the sleep paralysis. They have what it feels like people in the room, and maybe they do because they have doctors, working on them, so they feel presence in the room, but they feel that presence in the room, and next thing you know, they're seeing little grays or little beings, take them. And, that's been done. Those studies are there. So that brings up a whole lot of questions. And really, the answer, I think, to a lot of this is, like what Crystal was saying, is it's all in our minds. It's where you are in that point of your life and when you believe it. If you believe in aliens, there's a good chance that if you have sleep paralysis, you're going to think, well, maybe I'm being abducted. Because you're a believer, right? And there's a lot more people that believe nowadays than 50, 60, 100 years ago. So since this subject is a lot more popular with folks, maybe that's why they're having sleep paralysis and they're thinking they're being abducted. And that's why maybe more and more people are like, yeah, I've been abducted, and they were taken to Andromeda, and now I know that we're going to have this happen and that happen, and one day Andrew Basiage is going to be president.
Oh, jeez. Boy, you are not letting that one go, are you?
No, wow. I don't like Andrew Basiage.
But you know what, Angel, I tell you, that's the whole point to everything. Everybody's got their own experience, and they'll put their own spin on it. And, like you said, nothing really happened, but they thought it did. So it's like, what are you to believe? And I guess I am skeptical on everything. I want to believe a lot of these, stories that come out, and there's some really intriguing cases, like with little children who come back who say they were this other person in a former life, and they got killed, and they're great.
Really fascinating, really, because I'm a big believer in reincarnation. So yeah, I especially like those stories.
Well, and that's the thing. Even knowing that there's stories like that out there, I still am going, you're never going to 100% believe until it happens to you, until you pass on, or an alien comes and gets you, or you see an actual ghost yourself, or a true UFO up in that sky. Otherwise, it's just, hey, I think I believe, but not 100%. Because I'm one of those people who have had stuff happen, mostly when I was young, but never when I've been a teen, older, or an adult. So I question everything, and that's kind of why I do my show and started it, just to get some answers. And it's always good to hear from a lot of different people and see what their stories are. My very first interviews were on YouTube, and when Art stopped doing the show, and I just interviewed people from my group who said, hey, this happened to me. And these are just ordinary people who just said, hey, and I said, hey, why don't you tell me about that story? I'd like to hear it. And it seems genuine, comes from the heart. Some are even scared to talk about it. So that's what I'm trying to get to the bottom of, just get some answers and have a little bit of fun with it. So,
it's funny you mentioned that. I think a lot of some of the best stories are untold, especially in ufology, or in paranormal also, but in ufology, for example. We were at the MUFON symposium a few weeks ago with me, Crystal, and Alan, who's not on with us right now. And they were kind of like doing their thing, and we were kind of off air for a little bit. I think, Crystal, you were at one of the shows watching a lecture or something, and Alan was trying to sell something to somebody. I don't know what the hell he was doing. I was sitting with Frank Bennett. Remember Frank Bennett? Yeah, he was completely. That's why he did it the entire time, sales pitch or pitching something. But remember Frank Bennett, who was sitting across the table from us at the symposium?
Mm-hmm. I do.
Okay, he was there. We started, we struck up a conversation about his book and his his not so much an abduction phenomenon, but the thing that happened to him, his experience. And then this African American gentleman walked up and started asking him about the book. And Frank started telling him the whole story about what happened and this and that, which, by the way, was very funny because it's an African American gentleman. And what Frank experienced was a really dark, really dark black creature in the woods. And just him saying that to an African American person was hysterical because the expression the African American the gentleman made, he looked, this is like the darkest black thing I've ever seen. And it was like a humanoid thing, and he jumped and Then he landed on the tree, and
I can only imagine.
It was so funny, Crystal. It was so funny. Like, the guy looked at him like,
because this guy was like white dude. He was literally like the guy telling the story is like generic white guy. Yes, like
not even a Latino,
like
super white
like
guy.
Generic white
and
guy.
he's like, this really black creature just like jumped on, and then the guy who's an African American gentleman looks at him like, yeah, right, you never seen a black guy before. That's what's going on here.
Oh boy!
But as we're sitting there and we get past this awkward part of the story, right, and we're talking to him about the experience. I asked the gentleman, I was like, "Have you had a paranormal experience?" And he's like, "Oh man, let me tell you, I've had paranormal activity happen to me since I was a little kid." And I was like, "Really?" And he started going about his own abduction case that happened to him as a child. It's followed along over the years. He's been supposedly abducted like a dozen times in his life. And the guy started like literally like shaking as he's telling his story. And, that tells me that there's a level of authenticity there. And I asked him, have you ever written a book or anything? He's like, no, man, no. Because just being out here and mingling with the MUFON crowd is, enough to get me excited. And just to see other people that are kind of like either experiencers or writers that are dealing with this stuff, gives me some courage of coming out and talking about it, maybe publicly one day. But I have no interest in really going public right now or saying anything to the media about what I've experienced. And it's not just something that he's experienced; his family's experienced. That his father went through something similar. His kid is being an experiencer also. So it's there's a lineage thing going on here, which is very common in ufology, where family members are kind of like. They're like tagged like animals in the wild, right? Where they're continually being experiencers throughout their lives, but their family members also get abducted, and they go through it as well. And the story was just really captivating, and I was like, bro, you got to be on the show with us, man. Your story is better than half of the stuff we've heard at the symposium. Are you kidding me? And he was like, no. Maybe I'll think about it. He said he was going to come back the next day. He never came back. I think he was just scared to be on the radio and talk about it. But to me, a person like that and listening to his story, and I forget his name, by the way, shame on me. But listening to his story, really, that's the kind of person that I would say, you know what? There's truth there, because this is not a person who's seeking out fame. He's not trying to write a book and get famous off of it. He's not going out on lectures to make money off of this thing. The guy's a regular worker. He works at some big company. He makes a good living. He's not somebody who's just trying to seek publicity for something that's happened to him.
Well, I'll tell you,
I have issues with people who do that when they go out and they seek publicity for something that happened 20 years ago. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say I think that's why there's so much skepticism in the field, and because your ordinary person, like the guy you were just talking about, those people are out there, and they're ordinary people who have had these experiences, but are scared to talk about it and don't come out, don't really write books. They say, no. It just gets me to my anxieties, panic, whatever will come up. These are the real people who really experienced what they experience. And the people out there who are making the money, the big names, the people who got some wild stories, they're making a living on this. And it's hard to, not saying that some of them might not have experienced stuff, but for the most part, these people are making a living off of these stories. And that's where you get the ordinary, everyday Joe looking at the whole field in general and saying, what are you talking about? This is all fake. No, this is real. So I think that's just a big downer in the whole, paranormal field. Do you get what I'm saying?
Oh, totally.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but...
Yeah, I'm much more inclined to believe that person who kind of maybe hesitantly wants to come on the air versus the guy who's like, I have written 5 books about what happened to me, my dad, my mama, my cousin, and not to say that either one of those people are lying, but you're right. You get a little jaded by it. And I don't want to trash anybody's livelihood either, because I know how hard it is to make a living off of something. So I'm not knocking it. I don't want to knock it at all. But at the same time, it's kind of like, you have the phonies out there, and the phonies that's what they're doing. They're making a living off of this.
Well, it makes people like us dig so deep to get a real story. You've got to get rid of about 10 or 15 people who just want to sell something or do this or that to get to the real person with a really cool story that doesn't have a book, doesn't have nothing to sell, doesn't, so it's makes it hard on us, and,
which, by the way, this is why I believe certain cases like, we had her on the show, Kathleen Martin, but, the Betty and Barney Hill story. I believe that story because they weren't trying to seek publicity for what happened to them.
Right.
In fact, Barney Hill was trying to bury that story before it even came out. He didn't want to talk about it. He had no interest in talking about it. Speaking of African American, he was an African American gentleman in the 60s, married to a white woman, went to the civil rights movement. He was working for NAACP. The last thing these people wanted was to be talking about being abducted by aliens. It was already bad enough. They're going through some stuff that back then was considered taboo, interracial dating, and he's going through this civil rights stuff, and, that was a completely different era than we are in right now when it comes to like the way we deal with each other. And back then, the last thing this interracial couple wanted was to add more shit to the pile. And adding an alien abduction basically is adding more shit to that pile. They didn't want that. They wanted to keep that completely off the radar, and it got leaked by other sources to the point that they got bombarded with media coverage trying to ask them, hey, Barney, what happened? Betty, what's going on? And it got to the point that they couldn't hold off anymore. They had to, set the record straight because people were, manufacturing stories and giving details of stuff that didn't happen to them. And they were like, you know what? This is all bullshit. Let's tell the true story of what happened. And, they were validated, I think, when Betty Hill, when she, gave the star map that she gave, and it was kind of proven to be accurate 10 years later by NASA.
Yes.
That's what to me, makes that story so authentic. And the fact that they didn't want to come forward at first, that tells me there's authenticity there. There's also the Travis Walton case. Here's a guy who's a logger. He has no interest in UFOs or ufology. He's with his crew. They're out in the woods somewhere. Stuff happens. He gets abducted. He's taken for 5 days. People thought that his crew members killed him. They all have to pass lie detector tests to just not be in prison. And then he just shows up miraculously, even though there's a manhunt for him in Snowflake, Arizona. And he just shows up out of nowhere, and all of a sudden, oh, wait, let's give him a bunch of lie detector tests. He passes them all throughout the years, right? And this is a guy who kept working at the same company he worked for, when he got abducted. He retired 20 years later from that company. So, yeah, he wrote a book. Yeah, they made a movie, but he didn't get rich off of that, book. He made a little bit of money off of it, but he only wrote the book because people were embellishing what happened. People were, making up stuff. So he said, okay, I'm going to write my book, and based on what my memories are, this is what happened to me. So let's get the record straight. And it happened years and years after his abduction, literally a decade and a half after. That's when his book came out, or a decade after. So, it's not like Whitley Strieber's of the world, who is, he writes a book Communion. Great. But he's also a science fiction writer.
Right.
Right?
And horror writer, Wolfen.
And horror writer. So, yeah, he had a great book, but how real is it?
That's a very good question.
I know. And
in that situation, you'd really have to judge the character. So, for example, say I get off this call, guys, and I go to bed and I get abducted by aliens, and I tell you about it tomorrow, Jack. I'm a science fiction writer with a big imagination. How many people are going to believe me?
I will believe you because I know that who you are, but I can't blame somebody for saying, she's full of it. Because, you are a science fiction writer. It is what it is. If Steven Spielberg or George Lucas tomorrow came on and said, hey, we're abducted and anally probed by aliens.
Yeah.
Sorry, George. Not totally believing
I could see the aliens laughing. I could see them laughing, going, we just abducted George Lucas. They're never going to believe.
We gave him a real Star Wars up the butt.
Oh, no.
Get out the galactic probe. Oh, boy. Yeah, I mean, that's
Aren't you a little chubby to be a stormtrooper there, George? Go ahead.
No, I love Whitley. Oh, go ahead.
I didn't mean to cut you off there, but just curiously, because you've, talked to and interviewed a whole lot of people, what's a story that's really stuck out for you as something that kind of, I don't know, maybe made you a believer, or something you just, that's always stuck with you and, made you shake your head when you heard it, or, something cool like that?
Oh my God. It probably would be a couple of the more recent ones and they're not good ones. I mean, are you asking me for just
It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be amazing. It's always great if it is, but if it's one of those like, are you for real, bro?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, I got a couple of them, and I mean the one guy I interviewed, I guess I could say his name. He's got a book out there. It's David Gutty, and he moved into a house, and there was some kind of energy vortex behind his house, and he was able to he started speaking to the spirits. First of all, he said he was always able to from childhood, okay, so his whole life, but he just so happened to be able to move into a house that had an energy vortex that it was like a freeway of spirits, going back and forth. And
what are the odds of that?
I'm telling you, man, a freeway of spirits. Oh yeah. And but that's not the thing that got me. It was who he spoke to. He sat down and interviewed. Okay, because I was he's a demonologist too. Okay, so I wanted to get down to the brass tacks of demons. What are they? Are they, spirits who have passed on? He basically said they were fallen angels. Okay, and he said there were 500 fallen angels. Okay.
A lot. Crap.
That is a lot of them, yeah. But and he interviewed quite a few of them, and what he would do, and the other thing that he said was before the 500 angels had fallen, there were 12 other fallen angels, something like that. I'm sorry if I'm getting this a little mixed up because it was all over the place. But it was basically the Greek gods like Zeus and Aphrodite and Athena, all those people. And he sat and talked to them. And yes, he did. And he brought them in the house, sat them at the table, he said. And basically conducted an interview, talked to them because he was able to speak to the spirits, and eventually was able to talk to Lucifer. He asked to speak to him through God. He asked God, can I speak to Lucifer? And God said yes. So he sat and he said pretty much a camaraderie. Lucifer is not as evil as you think he is. And he sat and talked to him, and Lucifer actually got him in contact with the original 12 Greek gods to talk to. So that was probably the most out there story I've ever heard. And what else can I say about this? I mean, he pretty much said that, because I asked him, in all this time, nothing ever came and tried to attack you or anything evil or anything like that. And he said he did get some activity and some, scratches and some stuff from a entity, which was a demon. I said, okay, a fallen angel. And he said, yes, but he reached out to Lucifer, and Lucifer took that demon and got rid of it for him.
Oh, what a swell guy that was.
Oh, he was so nice to him. And he pretty much, and I asked him, why would he do that? Isn't Lucifer evil? Isn't he? And he basically said no. I mean, and he did get to the thing that, there's good and evil. There's got to be a balance, and God and Lucifer kind of work together and to keep this balance. And I kind of asked him, why does there need to be a balance? Why can't everything just be good? I don't see where good balances evil and evil balances good. That's just my thought.
It totally makes no sense, right? Like, why would God allow there to be evil so that people could suffer? I mean, the whole story makes absolutely no sense. It's like a fourth grader with Down syndrome came up with the story. It really does. Yeah. There's got to be a good guy and a bad guy, and they got to be fighting with each other. And then the good guy, he's going to impregnate a virgin on Earth, and it's going to. And this virgin,
so far,
she's going to carry his seed, right? And this seed is really him incognito, right? This seed is going to go to Earth, and he's going to die for the original sin, which the good guy created to begin with. So he created the sin that he's going to send himself, claim it's his son, but it's really him, and he's going to die for that sin, which it really did nothing because we're still sinning. Ta-da!
Yeah, there you go. I mean,
The whole thing makes no sense.
No, it makes no sense. And I cut towards the end, and this all came out towards the end of the interview, and I was just like going, wow, you saved this for the very end, and this is just tripping me out, and I don't get it, and I'll never get the whole, you know what, if we get down to the whole good and evil thing, I think it, again, has nothing to do with God and Satan working. I mean, that's all your Bible stuff and all that, and I'm not a Bible thumper, or I believe that people who want to think good things like spirituality and stuff like that, I think you can heal your body. I think your mind is stronger than you think it is. It's very intricate. You know, we just don't know about it, you know, and but I believe that we have free will. So I think when a soul is put into, that's if this is the case, okay? Because I don't know this 100%, but overthinking it over all this time, I'm thinking free will makes the most sense, because if there was a higher being, why would you let all this, and I ain't even going to go into, you know, you guys know what I'm talking about. We could talk serial killers, kidnapping, abduction, everything. Why would anybody in charge of that let that go on? I don't care who it is, but if there is a sort of energy that gave you the opportunity to, okay, your energy, you're a soul, you can inhabit a being on this planet, but know that, you know, whether it's a learning process or whatever happens there, I have no control over. That you're a living being. So I can see that case being made, even though that's even still, I can't take all this evil on this planet. That's why I want a ship to come get me and take me away. But it may take me to another planet where the same stuff's going on.
It's even worse.
Or worse, yeah.
Because I'm a real big spiritual person, I think, and that's a real hard topic. It is, because I believe, kind of like you do, Dino, that there is that one source, but I don't think that it's, you know, it's that judgy voice that's, you know, secretly going to, you know, send me to hell if I don't follow 10 rules. You know, I don't, or whatever the rules are. Like, I don't believe that at all, because that's a very human quality that doesn't seem to me to be the quality of something that made all this. But as far as good and evil goes, if you break it down to almost like what you were saying, free will, and if it comes to, and it's going to sound horrible, especially when you talk about, you know, those horrible things like being a serial killer at that, but if it comes down to a choice of experience, then it's not a balance, but it makes sense. And I don't want to go like too deep into that, but I mean, if you just think about it that way, it's not so much that light and dark balance each other out but how do you know about the other if you don't experience it? So if you look at life, even as horrible as it can be, by something that needs to be experienced so you understand it, then it doesn't excuse it, it doesn't forgive it, but it almost makes it make a little bit more sense. Like, how do I know I'm happy if I've never been it? You know, how do I know this is a horrible thing if I can't, you know, it's about the experience. You know, it's like when they say the gods want to be like us because they can't feel, you know, because they're so up there that they don't know what the human experience is like. And so that's why they're always coming down here and banging the human women. You know, they want to have that moment. So, I mean,
they just created us to bang the human women. That's what it is. They just want to bang human women. But here's the thing, and let me piggyback off that real quick, because, you know, when you talk about good and evil, you talk about heaven and hell, you know, God and the devil, Lucifer, whatever you want to call them. You know, if you do good, you go to heaven. If you do bad, you go to hell, right? Jim Jeffries is one of my favorite comedians, has a very funny skit about this, where he's like, you know, I don't even want the option of going to heaven because it's going to be boring as hell up there. You have your grandparents, you have some of your family members, you have your uncle who used to touch you, and you're like, hey, how'd you get in here? Uncle used to touch me. Oh, that's right, you used to work for the church. That's right, you were a priest. But here's the thing. What's hell like? Hell is, you know, for the people who do evil, right? People who did bad in their life, people who murdered, shot, killed. Why would that be a bad place for you if that's what you are? Why would the devil take it out on you. You should be one of his boys. If he's evil, he should look at you and be like, hey, man, welcome to hell. It's going to be awesome out here. You're going to have a great time. We got a line of coke on this hooker for you. Come on, snort away. That's what the hell's going to be like. That's what it should be like. If you're, a bad person, it should be more of evil that you're into. It shouldn't be like, oh, you're going to go up, down there and they're going to put a pineapple up your ass every 5 minutes next to it. That should not be the case.
It's harsh.
It should not be torture.
Hellraiser,
oh, yes.
Yeah, well, it shouldn't even be like that, honestly, because let's be real. If you're evil and the devil's evil, he should look at you with joy in his eyes. Hey, you're one of me. You're one of my people. Come on, enjoy, eternity in hell. Enjoy all the pleasures of hell. Enjoy this or that or whatever. It shouldn't be scary. It shouldn't be like Hellraiser. It shouldn't be a pineapple up the ass. It shouldn't be anything of the.
You're really
nature.
On this pineapple.
I love pineapple. Not up the ass.
Well, you look at a pineapple and you say that will hurt.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? But it shouldn't be anything evil is my point, though. It shouldn't be evil to a torturer's degree. I mean, yeah, it's evil in the sense of, well, you're not in heaven because you didn't do good when you were alive, granted. But, again, if you are doing stuff that the devil approves of, why will he torture you? Why would there be torture in hell?
Right.
Why would there be eternal flames or fires?
Question.
And Jim Jeffries, phrased it a lot funnier than I did, and it's brilliant. If you guys want to ever find out about great comedy, listen to Jim Jeffries. He's an amazing comedian, but he's really on the religious tip when he talks about this stuff. He makes perfect sense. It's like George Carlin did when he was alive, and he talked about religion. He makes perfect sense because these are brilliant minds that are bringing up real topics about what could be the afterlife, and that's why I don't believe in a heaven or a hell, because it makes no sense at all story wise. It doesn't gel. Yeah, there's a yin and a yang. I believe that. There's karma. I believe in that. I believe in a lot of these things, but heaven and hell just doesn't jive for me because it makes absolutely no sense. Now, could there be something after our life? Yeah, I'm open to that. I'm open to that possibility. I think that the universe, as I said on one of the shows previously, the universe got created because there was this eternal being that got bored of being alone in the middle of the void of space and said, you know what, screw this, man. This is boring. He exploded, or it exploded into a quadrillion galaxies all over the place and said, you know what, I'm spreading myself all over the place. And in essence, we're all part of God because God is everywhere. He's in us. We're part of this eternal being that just has always been there. And when we die, we kind of maybe go back to this collective energy, this grid. But I don't think it'll be a heaven or a hell. It'll be just a collective grid of energy that, maybe there's a consciousness there. And maybe, just maybe, it's kind of like going into the Matrix. Maybe this reality is outside of the Matrix. But maybe when we die, we go back into a Matrix. And then that reality is what our reality is after this reality. But again, I don't think it's going to be a heaven or hell scenario. I really don't. Well,
and I'd ask Angel again too. And you guys can't hear my stomach grumbling, can you?
No.
I hope it ain't coming through the speaker, man. It is so loud in this room right now. Anyway, but I wanted to get back to that, Angel, just real quick, and you can make it real quick and say whatever. But again, you're talking to Matrix, and there's a beginning to everything. If that's the beginning, the Matrix, the energy from the very beginning, what created that? What made that spark? Because I can't see, it just makes no sense to me. Something had to be from something, right? How can something come from nowhere?
Well, that's how we humans look at it. But we're looking at it as a human being, as a human
It's
experience.
hard for me too, but I mean, when you think about matter, can neither be created nor destroyed. Your brain explodes when you think about that because you're like, what? How? But that's what matters.
Exactly.
There's you almost think that there has to be a beginning to something, right? So, but no, apparently, I mean, you're hurting my brain. Let me stop thinking about it.
No, that's the question that's the question I've been...
Brain melting.
I've been going over for years and years and years and racking my brain even as a teenager. I'm like,
that's a whole level of consciousness that I don't think we're at yet. That's
exactly. Yeah.
I think we definitely have to shed the human body before we even begin to grasp that one.
Well, here science tells us there was a Big Bang right at the beginning.
I
as
think
far
it
as
was
science
way
is
before
concerned,
the Big Bang. I think the Big Bang was this galaxy.
Follow along here. As far as we're concerned, they say, well, there's the Big Bang. Then many years later, science said, well, before the Big Bang, there had to be something. Something caused the Big Bang, right? That's where I'm going at with this. The Big Bang was this energy grid that was just there. Science explains that as M-brain. You guys ever heard of M-brain theory?
I have not, no.
I guess I'm the only nerd here on the call. M-brain is, think about it as a loaf of bread in the middle of space, cut into many slices, right? And this loaf of bread is the energy grid of bread. And when the explosion happened, it happened in many different dimensions and levels, right? That's why they theorize that there's parallel universes, right? So before this explosion happened, there was literally an energy grid called the M-brain. And that is what they believe is what caused the explosion, caused everything to become matter. But what happened before the M-brain? What was there before? Was that always there?
Exactly.
You're always going to go back to that question of like, well,
right.
What was before that? What was before that? What was before that? And I don't think we're ever going to get to the final definitive answer because, we just can't go back in time that far. We just can't.
It's so unfortunate. Yes, we need a time machine.
We do.
But maybe, just maybe, when we die,
with a time machine. I would.
Yeah, you know what? And I have a funny theory about time machines. I'll show that in a second. But the thing is, I don't. Maybe when we die and we get to that next eternal life, that matrix, whatever it is, that we go back into. Maybe then we'll be able to just hit rewind and go all the way back to then, and not be now. Because then we're back then. We could see everything that happened then.
And then we started from this?
Yeah. It
looks like a bunch of dirt. I mean, what's going on here in this space?
You know what? One of the more trippy esoteric books that I have ever read was The Secret of All Ages by Manly P. Hall. You read that book, boy. That's, I don't know if you got...
Writing it down.
Yeah, check that one out. It's big. I'm not even going to lie to you. It's like an encyclopedia. Yeah.
Is it on audiobook?
I don't know. But that Manly P. Hall boy. There are pictures.
Awesome. I like pictures.
There are definitely pictures, but
They got shoes on Mars in them. Yeah.
There might be. Yeah. No. This goes back to like this dude claims that at one point we were walking, talking plants. Like type stuff going on in this book, like it's serious. Yeah,
well, that's cool though. Yeah, retro sci-fi stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it really. I mean, and he literally starts. It's like an in the beginning type deal, all the way up to, and it literally is the secret teaching of all ages, like all things. It's like the Bible.
Cool. Got it written down.
Here's the killer theory for you, Crystal. In an infinite universe that we live in, right? We supposedly think that space is infinite.
Right.
That means there's infinite planets, infinite universes, or infinite solar systems, I should say, infinite galaxies, infinite planets with infinite possibilities. I guarantee you somewhere out there are planets that talk and walk around.
I've no doubt. And this is why I don't understand why people don't believe in UFOs. Like, you don't have to necessarily believe that the government is, taken over by reptilians or every alien abduction story you hear, but you know what? Wouldn't it be funny if it's true? I swear to God, it probably is. But anyway, space is so infinitely large. It's just so big. Like, how can you not think that there's something else out there? Like,
Of course.
That's what kills me. That is,
that's what pisses me off too. We're on this planet and we can't get off of it to experience any of it.
I know.
I mean, we just get to look at these little lights in the sky and go, it's paradise.
Blurry images.
Dino, you sound like me. We're like kindred spirits right now because I'm so bored with planet Earth. I'm just like, gee, why did I pick this? Whose idea was this?
Amen, Crystal. Just like, we're looking at our check when we get it and we can't go to like Germany or we can't go to Italy. It's the same thing, we can't get to where we want to go. It's kind of very irritating, but oh well.
It is.
Here's a trippy one for you. You can't fly over the South Pole either.
Right? Yeah. That's
can't
true.
You fly
Why
over
is
the
that?
South Pole?
Why is that, huh? Why is that?
Hey, wait, you can't. No, so hang on. So you can't, like, literally, because if you try, the government will shoot you down, or like you can't.
You can't literally, like, you can't buy a ticket, and no airline flies over the South Pole. Period. And if you try to charter a plane, can't do it. They won't allow you.
They won't allow you. That's in. See, this is why I need to be rich, y'all, because we would do a lot of illegal shit.
No,
Let me just
the entrance
to the
Hollow Earth.
No, I think that's the North Pole. But here's the thing.
Right, I know.
Why is it that we can't fly over the South Pole?
Yes. I mean, there's so much about, I actually think this planet is probably really, really, really interesting, and they've just been hiding it from us. And I think that makes me angry almost as much as I just can't get on a spaceship and leave. That all the stuff that's probably here that
you got to think the South Pole is the most remote place on the planet, so it's the best place to do, whether it's government or an alien race. That's the perfect spot to be out of the way and do whatever you need to do.
Now, the flat earthers will have you believe that it's because if you go over the South Pole, you just keep going and going and going, and you'll never stop. Because, their theory is it's not so much that the Earth is flat and you fall over the edge, but that the South Pole is the barrier and you can't go past that barrier. Because there's one universal truth. No matter what part of the planet you go in on, you're always going to end up at the South Pole.
Interesting.
If you go south, you're going to end up there, period. Right? The only way to navigate around the planet is to go sideways. You go west or east or whatever, but you can't go south. You go south, you always hit the South Pole no matter what part of the planet you're in. And then you have a problem. You can't go over that barrier. You can't fly over it. Because if you can fly over it, you'll eventually go on the other side and you will be able to go back on the water and you'll be able to go over the planet, right? And you can prove that, hey, the Earth is round. Right?
Now that makes it, oh shit, now I've got to think about this hollow earth thing, or not the flat earth thing again, because it's almost like, it's like playing a video game where you've hit the end of the map.
Well, you could think about just about anything, right? That there could be a portal there that every UFO we possibly see on this planet, that's where they go in, and
that's where they come out.
Wow. So who knows?
Wow. That's really, really interesting why you can't go there.
No, it's trippy. And in fact, here's a crazy thing. The UN signed a treaty many years ago, so maybe a few decades ago, like 2 or 3 decades ago. They signed a treaty. Now, I'm talking about Russia, America, a bunch of different countries. They hated each other. All got together and signed this treaty saying that nobody was going to go past that barrier. That nobody's going to allow chartered planes or anybody to go past that barrier. All these countries that hated each other all got together and said, "Yeah, no, we agree on this one thing. We can't go there. Can't allow."
Why has nobody done this? Where are all the rule breakers at? Somebody needs to know how to fly a plane, lie about where they're going, and do this. I can't believe it. Somebody has. Come on, what is going on?
I've heard a secret told to me that there's all the richest of the rich and the elite have there's just one of the largest, most beautiful hotels down there you could possibly imagine, and that's why they don't let anybody down there.
Because of a hotel for the rich? I don't know. Well, maybe.
They got to buy for that.
I'm just saying.
That's what they go to sacrifice people to Satan. It's like a big bohemian grove.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, there you go. They say hell is hot. Now it's actually really cold. It's the South Pole, man. Really cold. Now, Admiral Byrd flew over the North Pole, and he found supposedly an entrance to a cavern or a cave, which supposedly led him to what he thought was, the hollow earth. Some people are saying that it actually was a portal to another dimension. What's your take on that, Dino? What do you think about that?
The story's interesting. I mean, that's for sure. Again, unless we get some more, information on it or somebody finds it, it's just a story. I love the story. I believe I believe it's possible. I'm not going to say that the entire Earth is, hollow, but large enough area that could inhabit life. And look at the strange life that there is on this planet. It's possible, but the story's great. I love it. I believe there were soldiers marching there during World War II, I believe. And
there's stories about Nazi troops
right.
leaving Nazi Germany and escaping into the North Pole and
going
towards that entrance. People think that Hitler escaped
right.
to the North Pole, and there's also people who think he escaped. I think it was Peru or
right
Argentina,
in Peru.
One of these countries.
I think Argentina. Yeah.
Argentina, yeah, and supposedly he died there. Many years later.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of different stories.
Right.
There's just stories. But again, we're told, these stories, but, the governments, they don't really go there and experiment or really show us anything. And the thing that really sucks is that we can't, as individuals, prove it ourselves, because if we do, we'll go to prison.
All right, we're limited, we're stuck in our, day-to-day lives, and 99%.
We're living a Truman Show. That's what we're living in.
Yeah.
That would piss me off. That would piss me off beyond anything else. Oh, my goodness. I'd be so mad.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, look, that movie, in essence, is a brilliant movie, because that is essentially what the Flat Earthers believe, that we're living in this kind of a Truman Show reality where, there's people on the outside of the bubble or whatever, or the outside of the dome, that are controlling everything, and they're, our controllers. That, we're living this fake reality, and they're just experimenting on us, kind of like Dark City. You guys seen the movie Dark City?
Oh, I love that movie. Yeah.
It's a great movie.
And that maybe something like that is taking place by some beings out there. Doesn't exclude the possibility of there being in outer space with many planets and galaxies and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's just there, we're on this controlled environment. And I kind of believe that we are in a controlled environment, whether we are in a flat Earth or not, or whether it's a sphere or a flat Earth. We are in a controlled environment, and I've said this before on the show here, that I think the fact that we're told that we can't go back to the moon, or we haven't been back to the moon, or we don't travel into deep space, that our technology is not there yet, it's because the powers that be don't want to tell us that, because we are being told, hey, stick to your planet. You can't come out here. This is not a playground for you guys. You are not ready for this. So we're kind of stuck in this reality.
So you don't think there's a possibility that we're actually, the higher ups are actually working with alien species and traveling beyond the stars and stuff like that?
Oh yeah. I think there is governments that are in contact with other higher beings and are doing experiments on other planets in our own solar system and are traveling at distances that we common folks are just not told about it.
Right.
Because if we find out about this technology, if we have this disclosure, which we all want, then guess what's going to happen? We're going to commercialize it. We're going to have people with trillions of dollars are going to throw into making these kind of aircrafts that can go to Mars in 20 days or in 10 days or 5 days or in 20 minutes or whatever. We'll have these people that are saying, the technology's there, let's build it ourselves and let's commercialize this thing. And then that's where you run into these kind of problems where maybe the powers that be don't want us up there because we're not ready for that kind of playground yet. So we are controlled into this little environment, and the that are involved with these beings are aware of what's going on, and that's part of the big old disclosure they don't want to tell us, is because they know what's going on, but they're being told by whatever beings are telling them this, that hey, you just can't come back up here. You can't do this on a mass scale. We'll allow a few of you to come up here because, we want to indoctrinate you into what really is going on. And eventually one day, maybe 100 years from now or 200 years from now, maybe your society will be ready. But let's be honest, guys. We're still at war with each other down here on Earth. Do you think that logically speaking, we're really ready to go out into space?
No.
All of us?
No.
And
it's why I wish
people
would stop. I mean, not all of us, no. And I think that it's possible for some of us to maybe communicate with the aliens, but it's like you said, we're in a controlled environment and there's a test. And I think that there are some people who know the questions. Maybe can I at least get the questions to the test so I can study something, right. Anything? I don't know. I don't know how it is, but I'm on two. I'm on two scales with that because I definitely believe that there are probably maybe the not nice aliens that are working with the powers that be. Because the powers that be, they're not nice. They're just not. If you look at the way the Earth is controlled, the powers that be are not nice people. So definitely maybe some, you know what I'm saying? So definitely there's some maybe aliens that communicate with them and they're in the not nice club. And then I think there's a whole other breed of aliens that are probably helping keep the quarantine around planet Earth that are just they're just waiting for us to grow up. Because we're like little kids running around with scissors and we need to grow up.
That's exactly what I think it is, yeah.
But growing up, we have parents that teach us and show us what's right and wrong. Well, most of us. Well, 50-50, whatever. Nowadays. But you get what I'm saying. I mean, so why would not the aliens not guide us, help us? Right. You know, they can float above us. They can do whatever. I mean, we're not going to harm them in any way. They're the almighty, the powerful. They can do what they wish, pretty much. So why not guide us, get us to that point, to get us out of what we're doing? I mean, even they are seeing what's going on here, and they got to be looking at it going, like you said, you guys aren't ready. You guys are there's too much war, too much greediness. So help us, guide us. You've made it to that point. We need help. Otherwise, we're going to die out again and start all over. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I kind of don't get that part of it. I think we need guidance if it's there.
Yeah. I hear you. And that's really a tough one. And, I struggle with it too a lot because I'm a very spiritual person. And, you have days where you feel very connected and everything and you're like, oh, I understand what the test is now. And then you have other days where you don't know. So I don't think that there's never been an answer. I don't know. I don't know if it's a personal journey type deal, if it's, they've been trying to talk and we're just not listening, if it's, would we even believe what the answer was? Let's just say, for example, that happened to you, Dina, that tomorrow night, the alien came down and told you exactly what you needed to do, like how do you, and then you wrote a book about it. I mean, there've been so many. I'm looking at, there's like 20 of them on my bookshelf right now. And these could be like I've got a chakra book. I've got a book about dispelling wet go. I've got a book called the P.I.T.N Agenda. I've got a book. I mean, I'm literally, I've got secret teachings of all ages. Yeah. I've got them all, so I mean, is the answer in one of these? Very possibly.
Well, I tell you what, if you would see somebody in such a different state of being than anybody you've ever seen in your life, I would be almost maniacal, because I would be like, if they told me that and gave me information and said, it's yours to do what you wish, write a book, do it, I would be going, no, we need more. As a species, we need more. I am not going to write a book. People will not technically believe it. I need you. I need something to be done. And I would be telling the people this. I mean, if I even came out after they told me, I don't even know if I would say, I would probably go, you know what, they're not going to believe me anyways, I'm not writing a book. If you need me to get this information out, come up with a better plan. There's got to be a better way.
Which is why I doubt folks like Sheldon Neidl and people like this, that they claim they were taken to this Andromeda place, and the Galactic Federation of Light took them and indoctrinated them into their ways of life and told them, listen, you got to go back to Earth now and you got to write about this. You got to inform others. Well, if that's the case, then why aren't they just informing everybody at once?
Yep.
Why pick this one dork and tell him, yeah, you got to enlighten everybody. You are the guy. You who wears suspenders and you look like a pedophile. You are the guy who's going to go down there, and you're going to tell everybody in a book, because we want people to read in a book what we are thinking.
It's hard to believe. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, when you see stuff like that, it boggles the mind how people will believe it. But again, here's the thing. I don't think we're ready for it. And it's the same. It's just kind of like the same scenario as us going to our backyard and try to, start up a conversation with a bunch of ants or, our lower life form. Because to them, we still are that lower life form. I think what they're waiting for is for us to graduate from a Type 0 civilization to a Type 1 civilization, not blow ourselves to smithereens from 0 to 1, and kind of like get that actual graduation from one to the other, and become a space-faring race where we're now not at war with each other, but we're more progressive and we're more enlightened here on Earth, and we're at peace with each other, and there's no more religion or religious wars because, our God is better than your God, or my God has a bigger penis than your God's, or whatever it is.
Right.
There's none of that anymore. It's more about, hey, we're human beings, we're on Earth, we got to love each other, we got to live with each other, we got to support each other, we got to,
But what do some of us do?
Okay. I think that's the test, and I really, and I really, really do, and I think that really is the biggest one. How can we get there? How? Right. I mean, if you just break it down to that level, because I hear the frustration in your voice, like people are evil, and I'm tired of listening to it too. So I've just stopped looking. Yep. I mean, that's why I'm very, very, very big that it almost is, and it's very hard not to see it like a conspiracy, because it's one of the reasons why I stopped watching the mainstream news, because I almost hit a point where a switch flipped, and it's almost like I was a different person watching this. And I remember sitting in my living room watching everybody look at the news, and I'm looking at the news, and I'm like, why are we listening to this? This is the biggest load of shit I've ever heard in my life. And then, like, all I got to do is go to Yahoo, and there are 20 stories about the worst thing that ever happened to humanity in that day, and there's never a thread of the good. There's never a thread of people doing something else. Like, it never happens. And I know that's not true. I know 100% that's not true, because I go and I find those stories. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like, maybe that is the test. That's
it's funny though, Crystal. When you go on Facebook timeline or on Facebook, you see a lot of people post really cool stuff that people do for each other.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Nice stories.
Oh,
you actually see that a lot. We're posting those kind of things.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Not the media. The media is always posting the negative stuff that happens. Because that's what sensationalism sells. The crazy, evil stuff that sells. Magazines, it sells in the news, makes people want to watch, right?
That's why I haven't watched the news in years, man.
Right, but there's a lot of people that sit there glued to their TVs watching every episode of CNN that comes on because they want to see this stuff. Look, we just had a bombing this past week in New York and Jersey and Minneapolis, Minnesota. I mean, we've had bombings that are terrorist activity in our own country. Okay, and what's been the narrative for the last few months now that President Obama and Hillary Clinton want to let in all these Syrian Muslims to our country that are part of a hotbed where terrorist activity has been taking place, where they're breeding terrorists. So in other words, we're letting people in who might be terrorists. And I think it was like 800 or so illegal Muslims were given citizenships because of a mistake, quote unquote, right? And these all were from the places where terrorist activity is taking place around the planet. We're bringing that into our country, so we're bringing in the evil to our country.
We cause the evil. It's a catch-22.
We're causing it.
We've become a very weak country, very weak. I'm not saying that we need to be dictators and but we to a point need to. We become a weak country. That's all I'll say.
No, it's not being a dictator, and it's not evil to want to protect your country.
Exactly.
That's actually good.
But we don't want to offend anybody. So
if we want to protect the country, then we need to stop doing things that make people want to bomb us. That's step one. You talk about respecting our neighbors and finding that love and peace on earth and this, that, and the other. It's exactly that type of fear. It's exactly these types of conversations. It's not understanding that we caused ISIS. It's arguing. It literally. I'm gonna get real angry here because it is literally watching the media bitch that Donald Trump's wife stole a speech when that very same day President Obama dropped a drone that killed 75 Syrian children. 75. Right. And then you wonder why ISIS can recruit on fucking Twitter. Like, are you kidding me? We caused this. So I don't want to hear anybody be like, oh my God, they hate us. They're horrible. This, that, and the other. Shut up. We caused it. So until we get our own government and our own people in check, we need to stop speaking.
Yeah, no, and you know what? The WikiLeaks just came out with some information that Hillary Clinton sold weapons to ISIS.
We do it all the time. And that's one of the reasons why I think it's a big racket, because then we sit here and we got to get in Trump or we got to get in Hillary, and you're still supporting the very government that's playing you. Stop it.
Correct.
Stop doing it. Stop it. Like you said, Jackal, we have to go to Facebook to find the good news because we're the only people that's posting it. If we don't start supporting each other, we will never get out of the suck. We just won't.
That's 100% true. But at the same time, with all that said, you still got to protect their country. You still got to, and I'm all for protecting the borders. And it's not racist to say that building a wall might be a good idea, because guess what? Other countries have walls protecting their borders. Shocker, I know. Yep. Mexico has a wall protecting its borders from illegal aliens. Guess what they do when Mexicans when they capture illegal aliens? Guess what they do? They deport them back to their country. That's what they do. So how is it racist that we want to build a border, that Trump wants to build a wall? That's not racist. That's being logical, because there is a problem with illegals coming into this country, and it's not just happening through Mexico. It's coming in through the Muslim countries. It's coming in through South American countries. Illegals are happening everywhere. I worked at a place recently where they had like 4 people that were illegal working there. Fact. I know this for a fact because I deal with these people. One of the girls there was kind of cute.
You know what?
But guess what? It's a fact.
You know what kind of you want to talk about the test that the aliens want to put us through? You know what? You just called someone illegal. You called a human being illegal. Think about
because
that.
Because they are. No, but they are illegal
really?
in this country. They are. Oh. They came to this country. They broke the law.
We better start erasing borders. We need to figure that out real quick.
No, but here's the thing.
Well, there's
things called laws. Hold on, there's things called laws, and if you're going to live in a society, you gotta go by the laws, and the law is you got to become
the very law that lets cops shoot black people. You see what I'm saying? Come on,
now. No, but see, that's not the law. That's just stupid assholes that are doing it.
That's bad people.
That's bad people. Exactly. That's a bad apple in a bigger seed. But here's the problem. Okay, not every cop is bad. Not every cop wants to kill a black person.
No.
Not every Muslim is bad. Not every Muslim wants to kill a person.
I understand that, exactly. But everybody, that's very true, but everybody who comes in illegally is breaking the law. 100% of them are breaking the law.
Maybe we need to change the law.
Well, yeah.
Or maybe
you got to think about it.
Or maybe we need to protect our borders so we don't have these illegals coming in, bringing drugs, bringing crime, because that is happening. Unfortunately. Go ahead, Dino.
Oh, no, I was going to just say, because our country, the laws are there, certain ones, like the illegal aliens coming in. People take advantage of what we offer in this country. And that's why I'm saying we're a weak country. We don't enforce it. It's not that we don't want people here. We love everybody to come here and get everything that you could possibly get, your dreams in America, like it used to be.
You won't find them in America. Don't come here.
Well, exactly.
That's not true. I'd rather be here than be in Syria or be in Iraq or be in Afghanistan or be in any of these Muslim countries or Middle Eastern countries right now. Because it is really bad out there.
You're right.
Well, besides
you
that.
Have to deal
here's the thing.
With your president.
The same president who's bombing them is saying, all right, now you guys you can come over. I know you're pissed at us, but come on over. We're going to make you citizens. It's going to be okay. And then when I leave office, you can do whatever the hell you want to this country.
Well, that's just, that's a deeper subject, though, to where it just comes with evil. Again, I'm telling you, when you come from a third world country where they can't even get bread on the table for their kids and their children, you're going to raise a family of soldiers. You're going to have them. If you know nothing else but what you're doing and you're being taught by grown-ups and the people that are there, that's all you're going to live. So you can breed hatred, you can raise hatred, and it's almost not their fault to a point because they don't know no different. And that's just, again, I think is just the evil of being human on this planet. Because could we all get together and share the wealth, share the dreams? We could. That's just the way it is. So I don't see it as, they're just rotten terrorists. So they're brought up that way, and they can't help it. It's just the way it is. You got people in charge who do nothing to help these out of control population growths, and you know what I'm saying? It's just, there's nothing you could do. Evil is there, and it's always going to be there until we transform as a human race and all work together. That's what I think it comes down to.
It's true.
That's just the way it is. Things will never be the same. That's just the way it is. Oh, yeah.
Angel's got a great singing voice there. You cutting the record singing?
Yes, so beautiful.
Things will never be the same. That's a little Tupac for you. Changes, baby. Changes.
Yeah.
it's
one day.
Look, we live in a screwed up world, and this is exactly why the aliens do not talk to us while we're quarantined. Because we're in a screwed up world where we still think that other people and other races and other cultures are different from us, so they must be bad. No, it's not. Muslims are not bad because they're Muslims. Muslims can be bad because of the way that we have treated them. Muslims can be radicalized because of the very nature of their religion. Teaches them that, hey, if you're not from this religion, you're evil. So you got to kill the infidel. That's part of the religion, folks. I hate to break it to you, but that's actually part of the religion. Read the Quran. The Quran is one of the most twisted books you're ever going to read. I've read it. It's a twisted book.
I don't know. I think you put the Quran and the Bible next to each other, and they could have a fight.
They're both pretty twisted. I'm not going to lie. They're both pretty twisted. But the Quran literally says that a good Muslim is a Muslim who fights the infidel to his death if he does not transform to the ways of Allah basically
but
Islam.
You know what? There are plenty of just lines like that in the Bible too. I mean, it's just religion sucks. Let's just put it to you that way. Religion sucks.
That's my point exactly.
It just sucks. It does.
You know what are good books? The Vampire Chronicles.
The Vampire Chronicles are good
There
books.
You go. Speaking of books, change the subject a little bit.
Read a better book, y'all. Read a better book.
Yes. And you know what? Speaking of ants under the Petri dish, and that's what we are. You know what we do? I did when I was a young kid. I would buy one of those ant farms, and I would feed it, and I would do everything possible to make its life better and watch how it lives. I did observe it, but I also helped it. I fed it. I did everything I could to make it the coolest place it could possibly be, connect it with another one. So, why aren't the aliens doing that if we're under that Petri dish? But
maybe
anyways,
they are, and we just don't know it.
They could be.
Maybe they are. Yeah, you never know.
Thanks for question. It's a good question.
Sadly, we're all out of time. In fact, we're over.
Oh no!
Here. It's been a fascinating show. Dino, thanks for being here with us, man. And
thanks for having me.
Please, by all means, give out your times so people can listen to your show and watch you on YouTube. Give your YouTube channel, your website address. Give everybody everything so they can go ahead and follow you, bro.
Okay, it's not about that, but I'll give it all out.
It's all about you right now, bro. It's all about
you. Plug it. Do it.
I love talking with you guys, Angel and Crystal. But hey, all you got to do is search Paranormal Into the Night. It's a Facebook group. It's the name of on Spreaker. If you Paranormal Into the Night, it'll come up. iTunes, Apple Store, Paranormal Into the Night. Subscribe. It'll come up. You'll get every episode. And our shows are every Thursday and Friday, 11 p.m. Eastern time. And that's pretty much it. I mean, we're growing, so it's small right now. I know Angel wants me to come over here. We'll see. We'll talk. But
yeah.
I'll also tell you, if I could throw this out there, if you like horror, because I love what I do with my YouTube channel, The Late Horror Show. If you like horror movies, subscribe to us there too on YouTube. It's we talk a new horror movie every week. Halloween's coming up, so have some fun with us. Yeah, I love doing that. So anyways, that's me. Paranormal Into the Night. It'll pop up. So
there you go. Good job.
Yeah.
What are you going to be discussing this Halloween? Anything in particular?
Well, I know I'll be doing a marathon at some point, and I've said this. I'm not sure how long I'll stay on. I'm going to get as many spooky guests as I can since I do the horror show on YouTube. There's a few people I can pull over to talk about Halloween and some other horror movies and stuff like that, and then a couple people to talk about some spooky stuff. So we'll see how that goes down. I will put that on my Paranormal Tonight Facebook group page, and so definitely there's a lot going on. I love Halloween. It's my favorite time of the year.
There you go. Good times. Guys, we're going to be back next week with another fascinating guest. I'm sure of it. They always are fascinating guests.
So fascinating.
Skywatchers Radio, like I always say, stay safe, stay classy, but by all means stay looking up to the skies because you might see something.